Welcome in to Yankees Unloaded. We appreciate you being here because, man, I can't even imagine wanting to hear about this game. I saw it. Gary, we texted about it. Worst performance of the year by the Yankees. And I'll tell you this right now. After what we were just talking about with the starting pitching, yeah, this didn't make me feel any good.
No, and I was actually having a conversation with some Yankees fans. This was an early game. I think we were trying to avoid a snowstorm, right? And maybe they were trying to have less baseball fans watch this game altogether. It probably was a good thing for this game. It was terrible. I thought Casey Mize pitched a brilliant game. We made no adjustment whatsoever to the split finger. It's obviously a very good pitch. His ERA is under 1 for a reason. He's very good. Having said that, this looked like a 2018 Yankees game where just guys were swinging for the fence, one after the other, no adjustments made whatsoever. I loved a swing that I saw in the middle of this one from Ben Rice. He stayed on a breaking pitch very nicely, legs out a triple, shows some athleticism, and then proceeds to get picked off with 1 out at third base with the best hitter in the game standing at the plate. So those are just old school vintage Yankees mistakes, and I don't want to harp on those mistakes.
I do think he was safe, but I agree with you.
Yes, it's the concept of how are you possibly allowing a play to even be close at third base? You should be darting back.
You shouldn't even lead when Judge is up. Just literally stay on third like it's T-ball. I don't care.
And then to make matters worse, there was a pass ball to Aaron Judge in the at-bat that would have scored the run. So it just couldn't have been any worse. Great swing to get yourself there at third base. But remember, after you hit the ball, you're now a base runner. You've transformed yourself into that. And then we need to accomplish the goal, which is touching home plate. So love what Ben Rice is doing offensively, what he's doing, swinging the bat. He looks sensational. That's got to be cleaned up. We can't be getting picked off at third base. Now, I want to transition this conversation to something that I find to be the most important for this Yankees team, and it's what's going on with this rotation. And I can't necessarily say that it's witchcraft or it's anything that's necessarily shocking, but these results speak for themselves. You look up at the scoreboard and you say, okay, well, Rodon gave us 6 innings. I think most of us would be pretty happy with that. But then you look up and you say, okay, we gave up 5 earned runs. This is really on par with what we're doing lately. We're giving up about a run an inning from our starters. You still look up and you see 3 walks. So really wasn't a ton of command. But if you watch this game, if you watch this day game, and you were able to watch a Monday day game, right, showdown with the Detroit Tigers, you'd notice that strike zone today was wide. Okay?
Oh, my God.
It was wide in Rodon. Of course, people are going to want to discuss this. Yes, but there was a pitch obviously low. They called ball 4, and it was actually at the bottom of the zone. They call it ball 4, and then you see the 3-run homer, and a lot of people said, well, if the zone was better, we would have received different results. I am tired, Jake, of making excuses for why we see the results that we get. I am all for being accountable and wanting to have conversation about an umpire making a mistake. I have no problem with that. Obviously, I'm not shy of talking about these umpires and the mistakes they make, but Jake, we can't show up and say the velocity was down. We gave up hard contact last start because of the weather, right? Zach Gallen didn't have similar issues whatsoever. We show up today, right? Freezing cold again. Didn't talk about the weather. Instead, we're talking about the umpire. The umpire gave us a ton of calls today. He took some away. That's not the reason that Rodon got shelled. And for some reason, Casey Mize was just fine. So for me, too much excuse making, not enough execution. And frankly, this isn't this Carlos Rodon? Go 6 innings, give up 6, get absolutely shelled, look like a 5-starter. And then at some point in the middle of the year, he's going to turn it on. Then he's going to regress back to this as soon as your expectations start to get back to that $180 million player. So I don't know. I don't know what my expectations are for Carlos Rodon other than the fact I cannot have expectations.
That's about right. It's gotten to the point where he is a wild card. He might have a good performance here and there, but for the most part, this isn't a guy that I trust, and he's got to build that. And unfortunately, I don't really trust anybody in this starting. I texted you this. Clark Schmidt is going to look like Cy Young when he comes back.
You did text me this. This is a true story. By the way, just to interrupt you, and I'm going to throw the mic right back in your face.
Yeah.
Kyle, we appreciate the two, and I'm about to get to the second one part of this year.
Kyle
says the Yankees are screwed if they don't make a move soon. You know what's interesting? Our very last episode, Kyle, I did say this Yankees roster, in terms of what the rotation is, I like our offense, right? I don't have a problem. I don't need a right-handed bat, none of it. But this rotation, given the health, I thought perhaps they have enough talent here where they can save this weak group. In the meantime, you can score a ton of runs and we can buy this group time, right? Get Schmidt back, get Heel back. But Kyle may have a point. We may need a shot in the arm in this rotation. We may. And that's a conversation. And another thing, I want to bring this up before I kick it back to you, Jake. We've got 5 gifted Yankees Unloaded memberships. Kyle, we really appreciate that support. Yeah. And overall, the support that we've received from our members in general, very appreciative. Of course, we're trying to do this full time, no questions asked. We do this show every single day. We're not going to waste a ton of your time today, probably around a 30-minute show. I mean, I don't know how possibly you can manufacture an hour-long show from that performance. I mean, the game was pretty much a waste of 2 hours.
There were people like, did we really need to make that Pirates episode an hour? Did you see that in the comments?
I did. I respond to it. The guy was like, why was it more than 30 minutes? I was like, well, sir, you didn't have to be there. Like, you're allowed to leave. We're not strapping you to our YouTube show. So anyways, to wrap this up, Kyle, thank you so much for supporting the channel. We really appreciate that.
We appreciate you, Kyle. We also appreciate Luis Soto with another 5. It's frustrating to get what we get from Rodon when he making $900,000 per start to get this.
Is that what he's making?
I'm going to assume he's got the numbers right. I don't know. Game checks are a lot. I know that. But yeah, it's incredible to me how it just seems like there's a lot of, like excuse making. Like today I saw on social media, the Yankees aren't used to playing in the snow and Detroit's used to that. I don't care. I do not care. That was a pathetic performance. Now, in Yankees Unload fashion, we'll give you some positives. That at bat from Ben Rice, that just continues to show me this kid gets it. He's starting to really get at the plate. Now, as a base runner, that's a different story. But all jokes aside,
Aaron Hicks-esque. It was bad.
105 miles an hour off the bat. Yeah, I mean that was smoked. Would not have been a home run though. By the way, Grisham's flyout later in the game, in the 7th inning, is a home run in 10 ballparks.
They won't tell us that though. They'll tell us what happens at Yankee Stadium.
That's why I'm here.
And by the way, Luis, you were close. I wanted to get the exact math. Okay, so Carlos Rodon this year is making $27 million.
Yes.
Actually, you could round up to 28 million, but my math, I did 27. He's making, and I don't mean to pocket watch here, but I mean, we do have a tight budget here at Yankee Stadium. They've told us this. He's making roughly $771,000 per start if he starts 35 games a year, which is basically as high as it goes. Okay. 30 starts is your target. That tells you relatively we had a healthy season. You were available all season long. Obviously, there's value in that. We are paying him close to $800,000 per start. That's a fact. And these results that we're getting, regardless of what anyone thinks about Carlos Rodon, we need better than this. If we're going to have this type of money hit the books, I need to expect more out of a start against a Tigers lineup in freezing conditions. All the advantages should be towards the pitcher, which you saw at a Mize today. Freezing cold, a bunch of dudes sitting there in front of the heater, warming their bats. And then meanwhile, you fast forward 2 innings later and Carlos Rodon's giving up 3-run bombs to the Tigers. It's exactly what happened. And it's disappointing, yet so predictable.
Yeah. So does that mean we get to count, going back to Trent Grisham, does that mean we get to count that he's still hot because he would have had a home run in 10 ballparks?
I mean, based on that contact, I did see somebody before we went live, because we sit here before we hit that button, guys. And I read the chats and I saw people questioning what we should do with Trent Grisham. My mom is, mind you, she was a big Trent Grisham hater. She's a Padres fan, right? Lives in San Diego, couldn't stand his production, and rightfully so. His numbers weren't great. He was a positive defender, net negative, right? They threw him in that package to us with that Juan Soto. They threw him in there. And now you look at him, he's one of our better at bats. It's ridiculous to say, but someone was essentially asking, do we force Trent Grisham into the lineup given the way he's hitting? And as of now, I think based on what the Yankees need, they need hitting. Clear as day, they need to maintain their offensive output. I am forcing Trent Grisham into this lineup. I know it's crazy to say. I do not touch him.
It was a tough day because I know a lot of people, and we'll talk about this. Before we do, actually, let's hit on this. Kyle, thank you for the 2. We really appreciate that. I don't care what it takes. Go get Alcantara. Go get him. It's tough because it's like, what is that going to take? I mean, this early in the season, Gary, they're not going to let you buy low. They'll wait until the deadline. So the only way they made that move, in my opinion, is if you include Lombard. And I don't think the Yankees want to include him. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Freddie Peralta at the deadline is probably your best bet, assuming Milwaukee is just not a good team this year. But I mean, if it's not Freddie Peralta, Alcantara, if he shows you the ability and we talked about yesterday, he's coming back. If he shows you that, okay, he's all the way back, then yeah, I think maybe that's an opportunity. That's a place that they can go. But there are guys like I saw on Twitter, someone said Zach Gallen. Why would the Diamondbacks do that? They're trying to win. Like what? It has
to be a wild card team, and they're going to try and throw a punch at the end. That's what the Diamondbacks are doing, because people are wondering, why are the Diamondbacks and the Giants, right, signing certain players or getting heavily left-handed in their rotation? Why are they doing this? The Dodgers are going to win this division. Yeah, they are. Yes, they are. As well as the Padres are playing, they're not winning this division. The Dodgers are. But the whole point of this is, like, if you're going to sit here and talk about who's available for trade, you have to know what the team's trying to do. Miami's not trying to do anything, okay? They're just not. Now, Milwaukee, you bring up Milwaukee and what Peralta was doing. Obviously, Freddie Peralta is a strong arm in this game. He's reliable. You need to see first what happens with Milwaukee. This stuff matters. That's why you can't just stare down the barrel and look at what are the Yankees doing, and then look at the market and say, well, we'll throw you this and we'll throw you that. Send us your player. No, sometimes a team won't send you the said player because they're playing too well. Right? Exactly. Sometimes they're all of a sudden out of your tax bracket, because now that player in a Sandy Alcantara, what happens if Sandy looks like the Cy Young Award winner again these next 3 weeks to a month, maybe leading up to the deadline? Suddenly, I saw it in the chat, someone mentioned Spencer Jones. Suddenly, some of those names that you guys wanted to hang on to, a Lombard Jr., now all of a sudden you need to push those chips to the center of the table, and it gets nasty. So, yeah, this is, like I said, a difficult job that Brian Cashman has, because everyone wants the talent, but they don't want to give up any talent, right? You don't want to send a Lombard Jr. and then all of a sudden people are looking at him and saying, why would you get rid of said player? Look at the output. Imagine that at Yankee Stadium, and he's going to take the brunt of that. Not us, not the podcasters, not the people listening to our show. No, just him. So having said that, this is a tough call, Jake. It is. And they've got to do something quick.
I'm glad I don't have to make the call, man. I'm glad I don't have to make it, because that is not easy. Yeah, it's not going to be like, oh yeah, just throw a bone here. And no, they don't look at him. See, they didn't value Jazz Chisholm. That's why the Yankees got him for what they got him. Okay. They wanted him gone. They made it very clear they wanted him gone. He didn't fit. He didn't have a great, experience there. But with Alcantara, he is a fan favorite. People go to the ballpark to watch him pitch, because there's not much else to go to the ballpark for the Marlins. So they like him. So when you're trading a guy like that away, in order to get fans to go back to the ballpark, and don't ask me why this is even the case, the Marlins just choose to operate like a farm system for the rest of the MLB. It's not, I can't decide this. This is how they choose to be. Derek Jeter tried to change this, and they ran him out of town. But when you have this, right, it's like if you want people to go to the ballpark and support your team, but you trade away Alcantara, you're going to need to be like, yeah, but we got these guys. If you are like, yeah, but we got Will Warren, like they're going to be like, they're hanging up the phone, like next season ticket, call. They're like, hell no. You know what I mean? But if you're like, yeah, we got George Lombard Jr. and we got Spencer Jones. And oh, by the way, we also got Ben Hess, who was a first round pick. They might be like, okay, all right. I mean, it's probably going to be the same thing all over again. At some point, they'll turn into a star. We'll trade him away. But at least for now, I feel okay with it.
That's what's going to happen. That is true. One of them will turn out, and then they're just going to get rid of them later. This conversation, by the way, about Alcantara, it feels actually a lot like the Jose Fernandez deal, because you have to remember a lot of time that basically the last 2 years that we were watching him, they were talking about trading Jose Fernandez and what we're going to get for this supreme talent. And Jose Fernandez wanted to come to the Yankees. Don't forget that, guys.
He only wanted to be a Yankee.
He wanted to be a Yankee desperately. And those are the type of guys you want around. But I'll tell you what. Oh, Luis is saying star pitchers won't be available till the deadline. He's not wrong. Sometimes these guys don't become available because here's the reason for this. And I'm glad Luis brings this up. Again, Luis, thank you for supporting.
Thank you, Luis.
He's correct, and here's why. When you have teams that are bubble teams, and what we mean by bubble teams, we essentially mean everyone but the Dodgers, right? Essentially, no one should feel comfortable. But when you get to the All-Star break and you look at your team and say, do we look at our rotation and say, if we get to the postseason, we have a real shot to win? Most teams will tell you no. But then you have to look at a star pitcher, a star position player, and say, what would our team look like with him on it? Because now we know we just played half the year, more than half the year, and we are for sure contenders now. We're taking less of a risk now. We can bring this guy in. And that makes you more motivated to get something done. That makes you more motivated to get your high prize prospect and throw him in a deal. This is why you see a lot of these star pitchers, star position players become available suddenly. So I agree with Luis. The interesting part is the timing. When we need the help, we probably don't need the arm quite as much when we're looking at the deadline because we need the arms now. Look at tomorrow. We've got Skubal against Cookie. I don't know if you guys know the matchup tomorrow. I hope it is a damn snowstorm out there tomorrow and this game gets canceled. There's no way we're running. And mind you, Cookie pitched an really a solid game the last time out. It's Carlos Carrasco. And we're teaming him up against Skubal. It's a mismatch.
Versus a top 5 pitcher in the league?
We'll need a war zone snowstorm out there. Like this game has got to just be a damn avalanche that just cannot occur. And mind you, we do have some solid numbers. Individual Cody Bellinger, right? Cabrera has some solid numbers.
What are their splits in the snow?
we need. I'm telling you, we need this game in the worst way. Never root for rainouts. I just don't. But if we've ever needed a rainout or a snow day where we're all just stuck inside, this is the game. I'm telling you. Obviously, Detroit they have got a great staff. We've got a decent staff when healthy. We are not healthy. We're throwing out a matchup that they're still big leaguers. Like Cookie knows how to manage a lineup. Detroit's not the strongest, but this isn't what you want.
No, I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, really excited about tomorrow. As a matter of fact, can't wait for the snow and Carlos Carrasco versus one of the best pitchers in baseball. And yeah, no. And Kyle is calling it now. Cookie is throwing a no-hitter tomorrow. I think Gary has more of a chance of losing all his hair while we are live than Cookie throwing a no-hitter tomorrow.
I'm going to get a Mike Tyson like Cookie tattoo on my face if he throws a no-hitter tomorrow. To say that would be the most like unprecedented key performance ever, that would be it. And by the way, in all seriousness, Cookie's a professional. He's going to try and keep this a close game. And unfortunately, we do like in Devin Williams, we don't necessarily have the hot hand right now going in our pen either. Like we do have some guys that are struggling, trying to get some feel, right? Paternity leave, whatever it is. But we've been talking about the Yankees starting rotation, giving up 4 or 5 runs seemingly every day. And the Yankees have to score 9 to win. Well, is Carlos Carrasco going to be the guy you want to turn off the faucet? I wouldn't wager on that. So I'm rooting for him. I hope this works out. He's got to keep us in this game. The Yankees probably aren't going to light it up tomorrow. It's a snowstorm and you're seeing a lefty throwing 99. So what could go wrong?
And speaking of the 99, by the way, I keep looking at Savant, and 2 days in a row, the Yankees pitchers they're not even top 5 in miles per hour thrown. Like they're below 96, 95 velocity. What the hell's going on? It's like Rodon has lost his velocity. I understand it was cold out. Why is Casey Mize throwing 96.6, but Rodon can't even throw 96 right now?
That's what I said last start. When Zach Gallen was pitching, his average fastball is 93. Yeah. And people were on me on Twitter, which is obviously just a group of just nobodies. They were actually on there and were saying, oh, well, the reason that Rodon's velocity was down, and we said this all over the broadcast as well. Oh, well, it's freezing. So, Gary, what do you want? The reason he can't throw 97 or 98 is because it's freezing. That's why. And he didn't have sleeves on. Then I look at the opposing pitcher, and his average fastball doesn't drop a single mile an hour. And they tell me, well, he's not a power pitcher. That doesn't make sense. No one has talked about this. We talk about different variables of the game, and somehow, some way, they have no impact whatsoever for our opposition. But for us, it's everything. I don't get it, Jake. I would love if you could explain how the elements only impact us, and yet the other team remains unimpacted.
Well, that was along the lines of what I was saying earlier with the excuse making. They're saying that, well, Detroit's used to this weather. No one's used to the snow. It's not like Detroit plays in the snow. This is very unprecedented. Okay. Like, come on. So yeah. Okay. They're playing in the snow. They played in the snow last week or whatever, but this isn't like a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even remember even seeing this. There was straight up flurries today while they were pitching. So that's kind of what they're trying to say is that, well, the Yankees aren't used to this and Detroit is. Detroit's not used to this. Let's not make it out to be like the Packers playing at Lambeau Field, like they're used to the cold.
The Tigers lineup stunk all last year. It was terrible. And then they literally warmed up as it literally warmed up at the end of the year. So I don't want to hear that the Tigers are used to this. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I hope at some point, now mind you, we don't make excuses when we win. Suddenly we just talk about the adjustments. And that's what we like to do on this show is discuss what we did positive, right? Obviously today, Casey Mize pretty much dominated, but we like to talk about some of the adjustments. That swing you saw from Ben Rice today, going down and getting it and still driving the ball. We want to talk about those adjustments. But when you get to the end of the game in a loss and the first thing out of your mouth is, well, I mean, we thought they really missed that call. Well, you didn't spend any time talking about the fact that you gave up a 3-run jack, which is becoming a trend. We're giving up way too many home runs. Talk about that. And the reason that matters, by the way, what you do post-game and what's out your mouth is now I know you're accountable and you're going to work on that. But if you're talking about the elements, the snow, all this, that really tells me that you're showing up to the field waiting for it to be 80 and sunny in perfect conditions. And that's not the way baseball works. You need to make adjustments fast.
Yeah. So 2 things I wanted to discuss. The first thing is Jason Dominguez conversation. I know a lot of people were a little bummed today and didn't really quite understand the rationale behind Jason Dominguez not playing today, against a righty. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow he's likely not going to play, or if he does, that just isn't a great matchup against Skubal.
Right.
Do you think that's a fair concern? Because I mean, I guess my thing is they didn't want Ben Rice to just not be in the lineup. They're not going to sit Goldschmidt the way he's hitting.
Right.
I mean, really, it's kind of interesting. Bellinger's kind of been a little like he's having a hard time. Like he's not looking the same. And I think the back thing kind of threw him off a little bit. And it has created a little bit of an interesting dynamic here because with the way Grisham's playing, this is why Jason Dominguez not being able to play any other position kind of hurts them. Like where I would have liked to see them, and this is obviously nothing that you can change now, but I would like to see them in the minors. Like, hey, can we get this guy to work at third? Can we get this guy to work at second? It's just there's not really, unfortunately for him, there's not really any versatility there. So he's either going to play left field or center or DH. And so it makes Aaron Boone's job difficult because Dominguez is playing well, but Grisham is like what we saw, with Carpenter. When Matt Carpenter was hitting, like you're not putting him on the bench for anybody. So
no, God no. I wouldn't put, I mean, at this point he's literally playing like Barry Bonds. It's stupid. We don't know what's going on. And is it sustainable? No, but it's happening right now. So obviously Aaron Boone has to make an adjustment off of what's happening right now. If you're playing like one of the better players in the world for even 10 days, shouldn't I milk that? I think so. So to answer your question about Jason Dominguez, yeah, it is weird. It is weird for today, Monday, to be the day that he sat. He sits today. We know, in what situations do you not want Jason Dominguez in? Against left-handed pitching, clearly. He's not chopped liver, but he's not the Jason Dominguez that you see from the left side. So why would you sit him the day before we face a lefty? That essentially means if you're being smart, he's going to sit 2 days in a row. I don't want any young player that we're planning on developing sitting multiple days. I just don't. So I don't think it would surprise me at all to see Jason Dominguez in the lineup tomorrow, hitting right-handed against one of the better this is one of the tougher matchups in baseball in freezing weather. Again, I hate making excuses, but we're not necessarily teeing up success for a young player facing off with Tarek Skubal. So don't love it. I would have liked to see Jason Dominguez in the lineup today. I think the obvious answer potentially is that Cody Bellinger's not swinging a hot bat. You can give him multiple days off, keep some hot guys in there, and then, reacclimate Cody Bellinger in there later when some guys stop hitting.
Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on here, unless you have anything else, but the last thing I was going to say is looking at the lineup, how much of a factor do you think the cold is having on them? Because I think a lot of people, kind of misread what Pittsburgh was. That was a cold weather series. Yes, and they were hitting fine. So it's like, I know the snow flurries and all that, but like cold is cold, right? So I don't know, man. I think today was just one of those days where they just didn't hit well. And the margin for error is so slim for this team because the pitching is not good to start. Right. The bullpen has kind of fixed itself a little bit. So you feel better about the bullpen. But I feel like right now, the starting pitching is just sticking out like a sore thumb. So it's like, yeah, hitting today. I mean, they out-hit the Tigers, I think, how it ended, actually.
Yeah, 7-5. That's right.
Yeah, so it's like they didn't bring runs across, which obviously sucks, but it felt more, evident with the lack of pitching, which often does. I think they bounce back tomorrow. Now, do I think that they're going to kill, Skubal? No. But I think they get after the bullpen. If they can get Skubal out by the 7th inning, I think they got a good shot. Now, Cookie is going to have to give him at least 5 and just give up like 3 runs tops. Like, to me, that's if he gives up any more than 3 runs, I don't see them winning tomorrow. But I think we'll see a turnaround with the offense. They'll look better tomorrow. I'm not guaranteeing a win, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, okay. So as far as what my takeaway is on the offense, this is my conclusion. I don't really see any problem with what happened with the offense today. I really don't. I just think stinker performances happen more times than we're willing to admit. When you look at what teams average in terms of run scoring, most solid offenses score 4 runs a game. Okay? 4 to 5 runs a game. And they do that because some of the games they'll go give you 8. The Yankees, this whole beginning of the season, have been going double digits. And then suddenly we watch them score 4 runs. And that 4 runs, that 3 runs is now a loss. Okay. The way our pitching's going, we can't win any games 3-1. We can't win any games 3-2. Those games are not existing right now. Those are the games we thought we were going to see this season. You lose a Juan Soto, you bring in some better guys defensively. Defense is shored up, right? You bring in more speed, some more youth. We're expecting much tighter games, lower scoring games. The Yankees right now are coming into these baseball games saying, if we don't score 7, we've really got hardly any chance. That's a problem. So as far as tomorrow, I'm not really circling the offense and saying, what are these boys doing? Because look who we're facing, right? We should be scoring probably 3 runs tomorrow, 4 tops. But your pitching staff needs to be good enough to keep you in that game. So now you can bring in your bullpen, which is considered a strength, right? At the back end there. So no, I don't have any problem with the performance of this offense. Would I like them to put the ball in play a little bit more, especially today? Yes. But having said that, my focus right now is on our arms and what they're doing, not the guys who are off the field and hurt, who is healthy. And those guys healthy, some of them are highly paid, are just not, they're just not doing their jobs right now. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry. But the facts of the matter are, when I pay you hundreds of millions of dollars to do a certain job, well, you know, somebody was paying me a lot of money to pave their driveway. You better come out to the front yard and it's done correctly. If it's not, you're going to go find somebody else to do it. And right now, when we have expectations of certain players, sometimes you do have to say, what type of role was this guy supposed to have coming into this year? Maybe a Marcus Stroman, you can say, Carlos Carrasco, you could say, I didn't really have high expectations. But for Carlos Rodon, your expectations for him to improve, get better. And he hasn't. Get gooder, right?
Get good.
Yeah. Get good. He has not done that. And someone actually, we had like a little exchange on Twitter and they're like, you have expectations of Carlos Rodon? Why do you have expectations of Carlos Rodon? And I wanted to make sure that I explained my position correctly. I don't have expectations of Carlos Rodon. I expect him to be better. That's my expectation. So as far as when I see Rodon again and someone says, well, what do you expect him to do tomorrow? Like, how do you anticipate this start's going to go? I'd be a fool telling all of you how it's going to go, regardless of the matchup. We could face the Dodgers. We could see Miami. It does not matter what the offense looks like. He's going to go out there and surprise us all. That's my expectation. So as far as where this team goes, some of these dudes who are just arriving to the field, and a lot of our chat is like, well, this is what you get. You sign this guy. Some of those guys that you'd say that, they need to start getting it together. They just do. And stop blaming this offense that they didn't score 7 today to win this game. You gave up 6 to the Detroit Tigers. And I know they're not chopped liver. They're still a good team, finished strong year last year, second half. We get that. Go out and be more competitive. Be better.
Get good. All right. Well, that is going to do it. Before we head out of there, just be sure to subscribe. If you're on Twitter, be sure to head on over to YouTube /@Yankees Unloaded to come and follow us or subscribe to us. Really does help our channel, helps our brand, helps us grow. But my movie today is going to be Boy Kills World, because people are going to type it in the comment section and it's going to remind me to watch this movie that people keep telling me to watch. So I'm using you guys to remind me. So yes, after this ends, if you could type Boy Kills World, let us know that you watched all the way through in the comments section, not in the live chat. That would be great.
And pray for a snowstorm and like this video.